Now that we have the context for mastery properties for weapons, if you haven't seen that, link in the description. Anyways, it's time to see if martial features make up for the nerfs they've received due to the lack of power attacks. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where I'd like to rage. Let's start with the biggest and greatest change for Barbarians. It's in the rage feature. Rage can now last 10 minutes instead of 1 minute. While the number of rages have changed very little at all, in practice this basically doubles how many encounters you can be in rage. 10 minutes is enough to last at least 2 encounters. In a dungeon, it's maybe 3 or 4. This is awesome! Like, I am ridiculously happy with this. And I don't even play Barbarians. I just hate the idea of Barbarians not being able to use their main class feature most of the adventuring day. And I'm talking about the hard adventuring days, by the way. The ones that actually give you a challenge. The thing in the title of the game, dungeons. Barbarians are the weakest class in the game for dungeon crawling because they run out of rage too quickly. So this is actually massive. Okay, I have to backpedal a little bit. It can last 10 minutes. It doesn't have to. You have to either make an attack roll against an enemy or force a creature to make a saving throw. Or you just use your bonus action if all else fails. Adding it all up, you are basically ensured that you can always extend it. You no longer extend your rage by taking damage. Other changes are weapons or unarmed strikes using strength deal extra damage during rage, not just melee weapon attacks. It's not an incredible boon, but you can now add your rage damage to a thrown javelin. You also lose your rage when getting incapacitated. This is a huge nerf compared to going unconscious. Now for some other changes. At level 1, they get a new feature called Weapon Mastery, which allows you to unlock 2 mastery properties of weapons, and change them every day. By level 4, you can have 3, and by level 10, you get 4. I doubt you need that many different ones though, but whatever. At level 2, they get a new feature, Primal Knowledge, similar to the one in Tasha's. I gotta say, even though this feature is really not that huge, I just love the idea of using stealth with strength. It's like, oh, you think you can see me? Well, you should reconsider. The feature they used to get at level 2, Danger Sense, was now combined with their level 7 feature, Feral Instinct. Some restrictions have been removed too, by the way. Personally, I feel this feature should come way sooner. A barbarian who doesn't have their rage up and loses initiative is usually in a ton of danger. It's usually the thing that gets them killed from my experience. Next, their level 9 feature used to be their 18th level feature, Indomitable Might. This is whatever, but at least you can use your whatever feature earlier now, I guess. Brutal Critical has been delayed from 9th to 11th level. Remember my short about Brutal Critical sucking? Well, they've changed it now. You now get to deal damage equal to your Barbarian level. This upgrades Brutal Critical by about 2 to 3 DPR-ish, assuming you're attacking recklessly. And it scales to 4 to 6-ish when you hit level 20. It still sucks, and they made it less fun for players who really enjoy rolling dice. Please come up with a brand new feature that is more frequent than this. Persistent Rage has moved forward a bit from 15th level to 13th level, but at the same time it's not nearly as useful as it used to be because of the changes to Rage. Relentless Rage has sadly been delayed from 11th level to 15th level, which is really a lot. But at least you have less of an issue being yo-yoed, because you get more heals. I guess this is pretty nice. Rage Resurgence comes at level 17, which means you almost never run out of rages. The thing is, if you get incapacitated or something, you still lose one of your uses. I would prefer you just got unlimited uses at level 17, which would work especially well with Primal Knowledge. Finally, Primal Champion has moved forward from 20th level to 18th level, but only increases the scores by 2 instead of 4. That's a really dumb nerf. Now it's Berserker time. A great change is that Frenzy no longer makes you exhausted. That's not the only change. You also don't get to attack as a bonus action. You instead get to do some extra damage. Overall, taking into account that picking Polar Master is the optimal choice for this subclass in 5e as well as now, I think this is a DPR gain, even if small. We also have Retaliation and Intimidating Presence swapping spots. But Intimidating Presence is now an AoE feature instead of a single target feature. These changes are okay. In general, I actually approve of these changes. The thing is, taking into account mastery properties, feats, and the changes to Barbarian, they are still lacking in damage, and I think that's a really big problem. They used to do good damage combining reckless attack and power attacks from Great Weapon Master, but power attacks are just gone. And this Barbarian has barely gained damage in return. I really hope Wizards of the Coast looks at the weapons again, and maybe buff their damage for anyone that picks up the mastery properties in general, or something along those lines. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if you got to power attack with a weapon of which you unlock the mastery property? At that point, you don't have any tax feats for damage, because everyone that can use the weapon well has that feature. Another alternative is just to buff the damage. Straightforward. And lastly, I would like AoE damage features. Let's look at fighters and then we'll wrap it up. They've changed fighters similarly to barbarians. Fighters get access to weapon mastery at level 1, 2. Fighters start with 3, get 4 at level 4, and 5 at level 10. At level 7, they get a feature called Weapon Expert. This allows fighters something that barbarians can't do, which is swapping the mastery of one of their weapon masteries for another that fulfills their prerequisites. Once per long rest. Here's the table again. I showed it in the weapon video. Slow is accessible for any weapon, and most of the properties are available to martial melee weapons. In general, there are some good opportunities for swapping here, but this feature comes in so incredibly late. Don't get me wrong, it is fun, but you have to go 6 levels without it. The wizard literally has 4th level spells at this point, and modify spell. Weapon Expert is nowhere near that level of power. Weapon Expert could literally be a level 2 feature. Which brings me to my next point, Weapon Adept at level 13, which allows fighters to apply 2 mastery properties to one weapon. This is also fun, but you're more than 50% through the game. Why not put this at level 7? You can only use one at a time. It's not that strong. The big issue is that these features come in so late. Anyways, moving on. Some other changes include Second Wind being a long rest ability now. This kind of sucks because while you get more in one combat, you would have the same amount in an entire day if you only short rested once in D&D 5e. I really do not understand the design philosophy here. Anyways, next, Action Surge. You can't cast spells through Action Surge anymore. This was pretty fun to use as a caster, but yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid that casters could make better use of this than a fighter. Especially because it comes from a weird artifact in the spellcasting rules. I'm fine with this change, but I would like more action surges. Indomitable has changed from being just a reroll to being a reroll with a bonus equal to your fighter level. Sure, this is better, but this feature is still so cringe. It is almost indomitable. Why is this not just once per long rest legendary resistance? Now that would be indomitable. Improved action surge has moved forward, which is a good thing. I wish it was moved even more forward, but whatever. You no longer get multiple uses of Indomitable from 13th level and onward. Instead, you get Unconquerable at level 17, which allows you to use the feature using Second Wind instead. This is basically a weird side grade. And finally, Extra Attack 3 has been moved from 20th level to 18th level. Maybe you'll actually see it in your game now. Let's look at Champion Fighter now. It's still super duper bad. I know it's designed for new players and all that, but you're doing new players a disservice. The reason why I'm saying that is because you're not giving them power at all. It's small increases. I made a video about it if you're interested. Improved critical still barely does anything meaningful, taking into account the probability of crits. In DPR, this is not even a 1 DPR increase. We're talking about 0-point numbers. This is so bad for new players. So bad. They're so weak. Anyways, they've swapped Remarkable Athlete, a nearly meaningless feature, with one that gives you an extra proficiency. But Kobold, this is so good, you can swap it every day! I guess there's room for mistakes, but I mean, it's not really hard to pick the right decision. Honestly, the ability to change the proficiency will almost never come up. There are some other small changes like Survivor getting changed and the addition of Heroic Warrior, which is actually quite decent. But still, this subclass is still the most terrible subclass in the entire game. You would have to be utterly insane to recommend a new player this subclass. This subclass doesn't even give you fun options to pick from, like Battlemaster. Battlemaster is super good for new players. Why? You get fun options, and some of them are really powerful. And when you pick the powerful ones, you can really feel it. Power is really engaging in this superhero game. Yes, I consider 5e a superhero game. I'm super disappointed. There are some good changes, and I'm happy they at least buffed it. But in reality, this is barely a buff. And if you take into account the loss of power attack, it's a nerf. This is nerfed. Maybe if they look at it again, they'll buff weapon mastery properties, give marshals more things to do, and give them those things early in their career. I really hope so. I was expecting Battlemaster maneuvers to be in the base class of fighter like they did in D&D Next, like 10 years ago. But nope. I was also expecting an AoE damage feature, but none of that either. They're willing to make really bold changes to these casters in this very playtest, but they're not doing anything with the marshals. I'm so disappointed. Anyways, end of video.